Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Sing Beyond and Through with Monty. Right before you is a lady who needs no introduction, the Queen Bee herself, Beyonce. And this lady right here also needs no introduction. Soon to be acting legend, the iconic Viola Davis. But something recently has drawn these two together. See, there was a faux pas by the BBC News, and they apologized for using Viola Davis' photo with Beyonce headline during the Grammy coverage. Now, that had many people scratching their heads because they were wondering, how can you get these two distinctive ladies mixed up? BBC News apologizes for mistake using Viola Davis' image instead of Beyonce. Well, on that particular Grammy night, it was a historic night for both ladies. Beyonce ended up making the history books for being the all-time Grammy winner in history. And Viola Davis also made the history books. I believe of less than 10 EGOT winners, Oscar, Emmy, Tony, Grammy. So it was a stellar night for both ladies. However, the BBC, in some people's mind, kind of foolishly put a little damper on that. But it did not take away the awards from the ladies there. So I want to give you my take on this because people are wondering, how in the hell can you get these two mixed up? Because, physically speaking, they do not necessarily look alike. However, I'm going to throw in a monkey wrench there because it's something that I have been discussing quite a few times on my videos here, where I have mentioned that Caucasian people, i.e. white, see coloration differently than black people. See, we as black people, we notice the obvious. And the obvious is that, one, Beyonce is lighter than Viola Davis. We see that and we take note of that. But to Caucasian people, they see things a little differently, particularly if they're racist. And I'm going to get into that. Because, as I have mentioned many times before, many a times, when a person is racist or have bigotry within them, they don't necessarily view coloration the way in which, let's say, black people would view it, or maybe other people of color. The whole light and dark skin thing disappears with them. They don't see the gradations in a way that we see them. So basically, in their mindset, these ladies are both black. They're not white. So that distinction for a lot of white people is not going to be made. I know that's hard for a lot of black people to believe. And it's hard for them to even wrap their minds around that. But I'm going to prove that. But before I do, this is Aretha Franklin. Do you remember the mistake that was made here? When Aretha Franklin passed away, how they confused Aretha Franklin with Gladys Knight? And they mistakenly said in a post about Aretha's passing, they put up a picture of Gladys there. And it had many people scratching their heads. So it's not the first time in which something like this has been done. Now, I'm going to move forward right here. Remember when I told you the optics are different, the visual optics of white people are different, particularly if they're racist or if they're prejudiced? You can throw that whole notion about light skin privilege out the door. It does not work with a white person who is racist. It does not work with someone with white supremacist tendencies and attitudes. This is Rosa Parks right here. She's almost as light as you can get. Even with her light skin, straight hair, and freckles, what did they make Miss Parks do? She was still ordered to the back of the bus. she was still ordered to give up her seat to a white person. And obviously, in doing so, she was arrested for refusing to do that, and it sparked the civil rights movement in 1955. This is a woman right here who's just as light as Beyonce, maybe a tad bit lighter than Beyonce. So Rosa Parks was ordered to, many a time she would say, before that fateful night in 1955, many a times she was ordered to give up her seats to white people. So therefore, a racist mindset, as I'm telling you right there, did not give a damn about her light skin, her light complexion, or so-called proximity towards whiteness. When a white person is racist or prejudiced, you can throw all that stuff out the door. It's a no-go for them. This is Devontae Wright. Devontae Wright is biracial, a biracial black man. And unfortunately, he's the one who was ended by Kim Porter, the cop. I did a video about this, who shouted, "Taser, taser, taser," to try to cover her ass for murder. She thought that by her shouting, "Taser, taser, taser," that it would be enough to convince the jury that she made a big mistake. But we all knew she was lying. I knew she was lying. And I said she did that as a cover. But as I told you once before, when white people are racist or prejudiced, they do not see color. I don't know why so many black people have a tendency to believe that somehow light skin is going to be a privilege among white people, or it's going to save black people, or it's going to make black people's life easier if they have light skin. No, it does not. That is not true. Colorism is a caste system within the black community. Black people tend to elevate lighter skins. White people do not necessarily see color when they see variations of skin tones among black people. They see and view you all as being black. Now, this lady right here is Roberta Drury. She was one of the victims in New York City Tops, the shooting there, where the white supremacists went in there and gunned down black people. She's another one. She's biracial, as light as you can get. He did not give a damn about her light skin. He didn't give a damn about her white mother. He didn't care about a white mother. He didn't care about a mixture. He just seen a black woman, a black person, and he was there to harm black people. So she was one of the victims. So what I'm saying to you guys, I'm going to get back to the whole Beyonce thing. I think you guys know where I'm going with this right here. They don't care about coloration. They don't necessarily see color. Look at Meghan Markle, biracial, right? Duchess of the UK, the most unpopular member of the royal family in history, the most unpopular member. Some may say it's because of her stank attitude. Others will say it's because she's biracial. I think it's a combination of both. I think both plays a hand in it. But right then and there, her so-called proximity towards whiteness or light-skin privilege is not giving her privilege. She's not well liked at all. She's pretty much soundly rejected by the people of the UK. They can't stand her. See, this is the mistake that black people continually make. They continually cite things by saying, well, lighter skins have it easier. They don't suffer as much as their darker skinned counterparts. Blah, 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 blah. As I've tried to explain in other videos, I'll try to do a little quick one here. Light skin privilege is among black folks. Colorism is a caste system within the black community where lighter skinned individuals are given preferential treatment and are treated better than their darker skinned counterparts. I said it within the black community. Usually, all children who are light skinned, both male and female, benefit from being light skinned. They're not going to be called the derogatory names that darker skinned children will be called. However, as they start to grow up, it lessens for the men. The benefits, the privilege that they had as children, it dissipates fast. Because black women do not necessarily prefer lighter skinned men. Lighter skinned men will tell you this, that because they have light skin, there's not really a privilege there. For women, obviously, within the black community, it stays more so intact. So as they start to get older into adulthood, the women, particularly if she's attractive, she's going to benefit from being lighter skinned than her male counterparts. So let me take this back to now Beyonce and Viola Davis. So if we're dealing with someone there who is racist and who's prejudiced, but sometimes it can be covert. Sometimes it may not be blatant. It could be an oversight. They may not necessarily look at the distinctions that I'm trying to tell you. We as black people see Beyonce as being the lighter one. We see Viola Davis as being the darker one. A lot of times with white visual optics, they don't necessarily see that. They're just going to see two black women. So it will be a lot easier to maybe get them mixed up. Now, some people will say, well, it was blatantly, it was disrespectful, that it was intentional, that it was deliberate. I think, to be honest with you, that it was a mistake. But I think it was a mistake because the way in which Caucasians people sometimes, many times, view black people. It's easy for us as black people to see, we definitely would never make a mistake like that because we see that. But to their visualization, to their eyes, they're not necessarily going to make a distinction between light and dark. Now, if they're fans of Beyonce and if they're fans of Viola Davis, they may be aware of the difference that should have been caught. But if someone's just kind of blasé, I don't know if they were drinking that particular night, if they were partying, if they caught a picture like Viola Davis, this one right there to the right, I can see where they may have gotten that mixed up. But the point of which I want to bring home is that I'm not surprised by this. Not surprised at all. Do I think it was a mistake? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily believe it was intentional or was deliberate. But I wanted to give you guys a little history and a little lesson about the optics of Caucasians. And when it comes to coloration, that they do not see coloration the way that black people see coloration. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Seeing Beyond and Through with Monty. And I will see you all beyond and through.